Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the HodlCast. We're here on April 3rd with Joe Looney, creator of Rare Pepe Wallet and new project, the Freeport.io. So thank you so much, Joe, for taking the time out tonight to do the show. Can you, I guess, just give like a little bit of your background, how you got into Bitcoin and what you're working on?
Sure. Yeah, I got into Bitcoin class of 2013. So been here a little while. Got interested in Counterparty pretty early on, like 2014. And then I've just spent my time like building like software and stuff to work with Counterparty. So
Nice. And, and all the Rare Pepe stuff too.
yep. Yeah, exactly.
And can you tell us a little bit about your new project, Freeport.io?
Yeah. So Counterparty, for like anyone that doesn't know, is just like an asset layer on top of Bitcoin. And one of the things, big hurdles for people to use it is there's a counterparty currency that you use to issue assets. So there's actually a way to do it without way to issue assets without Counterparty, the currency. So I wanted to kind of just like bring that feature to the forefront, and so people could create assets, tokens, any kind of like crypto good. So yeah, I guess so they could use Bitcoin but not have to use Counterparty. So that was kind of the whole, like the basis of why I started building it. And then it just kind of, it's easier for me to build. So Freeport's a Chrome extension. It's a lot easier for me to build a Chrome extension because then I don't have to like host a web server. It's just an extension is basically like a little application that runs in your browser. So I can work on that when I have time to like set aside and work on it. But then I don't have the kind of like overarching necessity to run like a web server, make sure that's always up, and just any issues that kind of come out of that. So
You have to do that for the Rare Pepes right now. You have to host the web server.
yeah. So it's basically like I have to run a web server to keep the website up, in addition to like just writing new features in and fixing bugs and stuff like that. So and it's just me. It's like I don't have a company. I don't make money doing it. So I don't like, I do it with Rare Pepe Wallet, and that one of the reasons why I put that together was so to make it really easy for people, because it's just a website you go to that makes you a wallet. But it is like there is a cost associated with running the server, and it's just more, it's less than that and more just like the headache of like, oh, it went down. Oh, you gotta
And then
like,
everyone probably contacts you. Hey,
yeah, exactly. Because I'm customer
I'm
support.
trying to give my kids dinner or something.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you said that the Freeport, it issues crypto goods. What's your definition of a crypto good?
Yeah, so that's kind of like my slant with like what Rare Pepes was kind of like the beginning of that. And the whole idea is that it's a crypto token. So you could say a cryptocurrency is a crypto token, right? To a certain extent. But it's not a currency. It's a good. So it's kind of like the word that I landed on after trying a few different like terms, like rare digital art and a couple other things. And I think crypto goods is kind of like the most generic term for what like something like a Rare Pepe is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it a lot because from a regulatory perspective, it doesn't, a good, like selling a good, never will implicate the securities laws. Well, I never say never, but just selling like a actual physical trading card or piece of art doesn't typically like invoke any of the securities laws or the laws around currency like FinCEN and stuff like that. If you're dealing in a good, it doesn't have to follow some of those regulatory hurdles. So I think it's really good to classify these. as the good. So what would you say was like the first crypto good?
I think as far as like Counterparty and because that's what I'm most familiar with, the Spells of Genesis was kind of a game that had trading cards, and they issued trading assets as trading cards. The one little nuance, though, that I think that Rare Pepe brought to it was with Spells of Genesis, it was always these cards are part of a game. They're like a game asset, this game item. And I think with Rare Pepe's, it kind of took it one step further and said, you don't need a game. It just is a thing. And it just is a trading card, So it's not, there wasn't that kind of like definition behind it, I guess you could say. So I think Rare Pepe's were actually one of like the first to say like these tokens are things, and they can just stand on their own. That they don't need to be like part of something else.
And what do you think? So, and I guess maybe what has evolved after Rare Pepe in the crypto goods market? Like, how big do you think the market is now, or what are some of the other categories or platforms that are offering it?
Yeah, I think you have Ethereum that does NFTs, and I think those are crypto goods. They kind of rose out of CryptoKitties, which was kind of like a successor to Rare Pepe's for a lot of people. And then in Counterparty world, there's Bitcoins and Mafia Wars and a couple just other like games and Kaleidoscope, just like platforms. Basically, the thing that's cool about just crypto in general, right, is anybody, like I'm just a person that doesn't have a company, but I can create a thing like a website that basically is just an application for crypto, like cryptocurrency, crypto goods in this case. And it just interacts with the public public thing. So the blockchain, and then like any kind of like asset platforms built on top of that. And it's something that like anyone can use. No one has to like implicitly trust me to like maintain balances. Like there's a little bit of trust, right? Because it's like a wallet, and you're not like 99% of people aren't going to audit the code themselves. So there's like that little bit of trust, but there's not the like I can like take your assets kind of thing, because it is like a crypto asset. So that's, I think Counterparty has a lot of that. I think Ethereum has a lot of that too. But then there's companies that are trying to like build stuff on top of it too. But I think it's come a long way since, definitely since Rare Pepe started. So 2016, like the end of 2016. So it's not quite 3 years now, and it's really kind of an idea that most people buy into. And I think I'm not quite sure we're there yet, but I think like non-crypto people kind of buy into it too. Like I don't know how big of a like segment that is right now, but I think as that grows, that could really be something that like gets like people that aren't into cryptocurrency and stuff kind of into the idea of like digital scarcity or like rareness on the internet.
And just how easy all the other stuff, I mean, it's usable certainly, but I remember when I was first trying to use it, like it was kind of a clunky process for me. I had to, contact people, ask for help with each step of the way. Like I kind of was a little slow on the Rare Pepes, but I started using Counterparty more with the BitTorrent game. And like Dan Anderson was having to send me videos of like, step by step how to like sign a transaction and stuff. And then when I went to use Freeport.io today, it was so fun because it was like, I think my mom could even probably figure out how to issue an asset on it. Like it was easy, fast. It's a very, clean looking website, and it's fun to use, and not pretty low fees for creating them too. I think cheaper than how much is it to create each asset? And what does that
Um,
compare to like like when doing a Rare Pepe?
Well, so the reason that Freeport works with just Bitcoin is because the assets don't have like a human readable name. Um, I mean, they do, but like a
Oh,
long.
I named mine Wet Willie,
Yeah.
Yang
So
Stomp.
yeah, so that's what I did. Is that's kind of that's more of like it says name in Freeport, but it's more of like an alias because you're just saying like this thing is called this.
Okay.
Which I think is probably fine in most cases. And that's like really how like an Ethereum token would work, right? Because there's the smart contract address, and then
Hmm.
within that is everything that's kind of stored in there. But you need to know that address, which you have to get from somebody because it's not like a simple like name, right? So, um, yeah, I think just removing the having the need to buy counterparty from the whole process of creating an asset like makes it like so much easier because that's really like anybody that I know that's tried to do it that's not like super savvy with crypto stuff. That's always the hang up is getting counterparty tokens XCP, and it's gotten so easy to buy Bitcoin, like
Hmm.
so many ways you can buy it. Like anyone can just Google how to buy Bitcoin and something like
Like the
someone
Cash
will give
App.
me, yeah, Cash App, something like, yeah, Cash Apps are really easy. Like even my wife was like able to like download that and buy Bitcoin, and it was like no problem at all. It's like using any kind of app on your phone. So if you can do that, and then you can just send Bitcoin from Cash App to Freeport, and there's a little QR code that pops up, and you can send it over. Um, it's really easy. Like and you can create assets, and you can put images with them, and you can do like all kind of stuff. Just trade them, and really you just have to get over the fact that you have to pay a fee each time. And I think that is a big hurdle for like a lot of people getting into crypto. Like, oh, anytime I want to do anything I have to pay a little bit, like it costs me a little bit, because everyone's used to having everything free on the internet. um,
But
so
it's not free to do like a PayPal transaction or Venmo or anything like that.
those are all free.
No, you have to pay like a certain little percent each
No,
time, I
they're
think.
all free now. Venmo at least.
Is it?
Venmo, I think.
Thought it was still like $1 or
No,
something.
it used to be, and then they all like started competing with each other. Now
Okay.
it's all just free.
My
At
PayPal,
least for like,
it's if you add your bank account, that's what it is. If you're just using
yeah,
your debit card or something, you still have to pay a little fee, I think.
yeah. So I guess there's like the hurdle of having all that, but
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of people have that. A lot of people not into crypto are able to set that up. I was surprised, honestly, like in the last bull run, how many people like set up a Coinbase account that I knew, like I'm gonna buy Bitcoin, like obviously at like really
10,000
high
or more,
prices,
yeah.
$50,000. But they were able to do it, and they went through the process, and they did it, and that wasn't like a big hurdle. I mean, it's a hurdle, but it wasn't huge. So I think getting Bitcoin has just gotten easier. So Freeport, you just need Bitcoin. So I think
Mhm.
that makes the whole thing kind of easy.
Yeah,
Um,
because before, how did you have to get Counterparty? You'd have to buy Bitcoin, send it to Binance, buy Counterparty on there, send
Not
that
even
back to
Binance. I think it's only Bittrex.
Bittrex.
That's
Okay.
like the like big one that has it.
Mhm.
So yeah, then you have to send it to Bittrex, and then you have to buy it there and send it to your
Send it to your
wallet.
wallet.
And the whole basically the idea that you're spending counterparty tokens, but you're also paying a Bitcoin fee. Like that's kind of weird if you don't
Mhm.
really understand kind of how it works. But if you always just pay a Bitcoin fee, like um, I think there's more to it than just the actual like. It's kind of just the like psychology of it, how it works, is a hurdle to people because it's like one currency on top of another currency, so you have to pay this other fee at the same time. So I think that confuses people. Um, so yeah, if we can get rid of that one extra layer, that makes everything easier.
Definitely, in theory, that sounds good, but I'm a little bit of a Counterparty bag folder now, so I'm worried. Does this mean is the token? Do you think that it's going to kind of die off here, like if it's not needed, or?
No, I think definitely a use for it. for creating like named assets. There's definitely, they have right now anyway, they're like a kind of like a first class citizen, or like you, because they work in every counterparty wallet, and it's easy to tell what they are, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's just a name as opposed to a number, like an asset ID number. It's an asset name essentially, what you pay Counterparty for. So you also need Counterparty for some other functions, I think, like paying dividends and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I think Counterparty, it's just a weird thing to try to price, like get a price on. I mean, if someone created some sort of application that used named assets tomorrow, it could bring the price up on that too. It's kind of just, Counterparty is interesting, as it's like, because it's a meta, kind of like a meta token. It lives on top of the other, on top of Bitcoin. It's kind of weird to try to like analyze like use case and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So are these assets, the Freeport assets, they have nothing to do with Counterparty, or?
No, they're Counterparty assets.
Yeah, okay.
They don't have names.
They just don't use the XRP token.
Well, so
XCP.
the only difference between like an asset you'd issue on Freeport versus like if you were to have made a Rare Pepe, because all the Rare Pepes are named assets,
Mm-hmm.
is you need to pay a fee in XCP to get a name as opposed to a number. You can get a number for free, but you have to pay to get a name.
Okay.
But functionally, they have all the same functions. They work on the DEX. They work, like, you can send them, you can pay dividends to them. Like all the functionality that you have for a named asset, you have for a numeric asset.
Okay. And it's really nice. So when I was getting it set up, I didn't realize that I could actually link my Counterparty wallet that I set up all my Bitcoin stuff on with the Freeport one. And luckily you told me, because I would have, I had already sent Bitcoin to this new wallet. Then I logged out of that one. And it was so nice seeing all my trading cards that people have been sending them to me in the Bitcoin game without, like, I haven't even seen all of them, and I haven't logged in separately from the game for a while. So it was nice, like, just looking at all this artwork. But
yeah, that's another thing that I did with Freeport is Dan Anderson from Bitcorns actually made a really cool website called DigiRare, which is like all the Counterparty like trading card kind of asset crypto good.
I didn't realize it was him that made that. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, no, and that site's really good, and he actually gave me access to like an API where I could pull the images for anything that's on that site.
Mm-hmm.
So Freeport basically acts as a wallet that can hold, like, any current crypto goods on Counterparty are going to show up kind of correctly in Freeport, in addition to all the ones you make in Freeport.
Mm-hmm. And so I have never really interacted with any of these Ethereum crypto good platforms, but what would you say are like some of the main differences then between Counterparty or Freeport, and like how should if someone wants to issue art, like what would draw them to Counterparty more than some of the other platforms out there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think if it's someone that doesn't know anything about like Ethereum, Bitcoin, they're just an artist that's coming in and wants to make something. Mm-hmm. They have a couple options that are like kind of like easy, at least that I know of. So they have Freeport, which I think is really easy, and if you get Bitcoin, then you can make it on there. Mm-hmm. Then there's an Ethereum project. It's super rare, but it's also Pixura, and I can't remember. They built like a place where you could essentially like create an account and like make art and put it in a collection and sell it.
Mm-hmm. I see Jeff uses that like once a month or so. He puts a piece up, and they sell for kind of a lot in there, like, or they were at least a little while ago. Like when Ethereum was at its peak, people were paying like 1 and 2 Ethereum for these GIF images and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they do, and I think and that's why I kind of think we're still in the stage where if you're into Ethereum, you lean towards like Ethereum based like stuff. So if you're into Ethereum and then you see this cool like crypto art stuff, then you're going to lean towards like stuff that's made on Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
And then Counterparty kind of it would be more if you're into Bitcoin, but a lot of people into Bitcoin like kind of aren't necessarily this into like something built on top of Bitcoin, which I think is kind of strange to some degree, but then I kind of get it to other degrees too. So I think the Counterparty community is just like a lot smaller because it's got a lot of like different things kind of working, maybe not against it, but not really like helping it. So it's kind of like if you're really into Bitcoin and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not into any other kind of coins, but then here's this other one, but it's built on Bitcoin. So like you should be okay with it. But so it's kind of got that going for
Well,
it.
I did a podcast, like I think it was last week with Alan Fiscatello from Blockstream. And I asked him, he was talking about the Liquid sidechain. And we were actually at this securities conference, like looking at how, all the security token stuff. And it looks to me like Liquid is probably the best poised if there is some kind of shift in the market that would make the whole stock market want to become issued on crypto assets. Liquid is probably set up to do it. But I asked him about Counterparty and he called it a parasite. I didn't want to make it, too much because I love Counterparty, but he kind of pulled it back a little and just said, well, if you look at it, like it's using all of Bitcoin's data, but not contributing to Bitcoin, it's like adding weight onto it. But I didn't think that's how it worked. I didn't think it slowed Bitcoin down or anything by having, it's like a second layer on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's because I kind of see where he's coming from, but it's also paying Bitcoin transaction fees. So it's like, that's what you get with a public network. People can do what they want with it. So yeah, I think it's, some people have a vision, right? So what Bitcoin is and should be, and then anything that deviates from that's like not good, right? So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with Bitcoin, at least with something like Counterparty, if it does work, if we get to the point where fees are like astronomical and it's just not working, and for like it's just a settlement layer, and it's not, and you're using stuff like Liquid sidechains to move your Bitcoin around rather than doing it like on the main chain. Yeah, that's something like Counterparty I think it's going to be much more difficult, and maybe you only put like real high end like digital art pieces on there or something. But for now, I think it works great, and I think it's, even with higher fees, I think there's still the use case for it, something like a layer on top. So yeah, I mean, yeah. And something like with Liquid is like very different, because it's like, it's more just like it's just a multi-sig, right? Where you've got a bunch of signers. So yeah, I mean, it's like, it's like trust minimizing, I guess. But you're kind of like putting it's more like you're putting your trust into a like smaller group of people than with Bitcoin, I guess. I don't know. I'm not like, I think it's fine. I don't see any reason to use something like that. I think if I'm going to use, it makes a lot more sense if you're going to use Bitcoin to just use like a custodial service at the end of the day, if you're going to like a Cash App or something like that, rather than like, because you still pay Bitcoin fees on Liquid, so it's not, it doesn't like remove that aspect of it.
Okay.
But they get to set the fees. I think it's functionaries they call them. They can like decide what the fees are.
So they could
So
run it at a loss if they're making money in some other fashion to keep the fees down. Like they
well, they could. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do. I mean, they could whitelist addresses, and then they don't have to worry about spam, and they could have no fees. Like
Mhm.
it's just a network that what is it, 15 functionaries or whatever it is, or 20 or
I don't
I don't remember, but they can decide whatever. They can do whatever they want because they're the ones running their network. So that's a big difference when you get something like Counterparty is another interesting thing because Counterparty itself is basically like a smart contract on top of Bitcoin, but it's just a piece of software that everyone chooses to run the same version of, like Bitcoin, but you don't have that. You're kind of using Bitcoin's security mechanism to secure and order your transactions and everything. So the way that kind of the assets are handled within Counterparty, that's just a Counterparty software update, and then as long as everybody buys into the update, then you can add new features. But if there was some contentious thing in Counterparty, like so say with Freeport, say that people stop using named assets, and then people that have Counterparty XCP don't like that, and they want to say, okay, the numeric ones shouldn't be free, like only cost a Bitcoin fee. They should cost XCP too. And then if other people go, no, we like the free numeric assets, then you could easily have a fork in Counterparty, because people just run two different versions of software, and as long as people are building applications for it, then it's not, you don't need miners too. Like it's so it's interesting. I like Counterparty. I think it's the right way to do like a smart contract.
Can you give, like, I know a little bit of what a smart, I've heard the term so many times, and I kind of have an idea that it's just like something that you can program, you say yes or no to, but can you give an overview of what exactly, and the reason I'm asking is because at the same securities conference, the whole like idea was thinking about ways that we could move the traditional stock market into being digital, and there were some attorneys there that seem to think smart contracts can do all of your can do everything. And I thought, I always hear like, oh, they're dumb contracts, or more so talking about Ethereum too. So can you give just a little bit overview of what exactly are the differences maybe between the Counterparty smart contract and the Ethereum smart contracts, and maybe the limits of what they could do?
Yeah, so I think and we're going to do it from the realm of like tokens and like crypto assets. So I think it's kind of like what you're talking about. So they want to use tokens as securities. So a smart contract, when it comes to tokens, is just basically establishing, take a step back. Ethereum is a smart contract platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Counterparty is a smart contract. So Counterparty is more analogous to like the CryptoKitties ERC 721 smart contract. So like that specific one, because you could build Counterparty on Ethereum.
Okay.
Or you could build Ethereum on Counterparty by just writing the virtual machine into the Counterparty node software. So the big difference is with Ethereum, when you write a smart contract, is that smart contract code. So think of it as like a script, it's just the rules how data is going to be stored, and how token balances will be accounted for, how tokens will be created, all that stuff. It's like a little computer program that with Ethereum, you write that program, and then you basically, it gets added to the Ethereum blockchain, and then anytime anyone like makes a call to that program, everybody, the running of the code has to be processed by every single Ethereum node, and then they all have to agree on it. Like with Bitcoin, you're all agreeing on the state of things. Okay. With Bitcoin, it's more like the UTXO set. With Ethereum, it's like the actual like state of the database. So with Counterparty, that little computer program, instead of being a piece of software that's written onto the blockchain and everyone has to run it, all the nodes have to run it, all the mining nodes have to run it, everybody has to run it. Only the people that care about it have to run it, because it's literally a piece of software that you would run as a node on your computer. But it's getting its inputs from messages on the Bitcoin blockchain. But all the logic and how those inputs are kind of parsed and I guess you could say just process, how the logic is processed to spit an output to get your state of everybody's token balances and what orders exist and what assets have been issued and all that. That all happens in the program you're running on your computer itself, not a program that has to be run by every single like node processing that chain. So I think that makes a lot more sense than something like Ethereum where everybody has to process every contract. Mm-hmm. And I think I think they realize that, and that's the like sharding is, I think, kind of one solution to that. If it actually works, I don't know. I just think the whole basis of the design though was that the world computer idea, like we're all going to run this one big computer that's going to process everything. And then you see the issues with, now we have a chain that like almost nobody can like sync a node from the beginning, like mm-hmm. just building the chain themselves. There's actually a really good Medium post. Block Cipher was trying to upgrade, and they had all sorts of issues. And then I don't know that they ever succeeded in rebuilding from scratch.
So I wonder how many, like, I think I looked it up the other day. There were like 1,800 nodes for Ethereum or something around that number. But do you think like that, I guess, is there any way to tell how many nodes are like fully up to date running from the beginning?
I think most of it, there's like a fast sync for nodes, and you basically just
where you're doing just the last transaction or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know a ton about it. Like the kind of ins and outs of the technical ways it works. I just kind of know the basis of the design. Mm-hmm. And I think something like running your smart contracts, so another thing with Ethereum that I think is interesting, and where you kind of see like just things that don't quite add up, is that most people, it's become the standard that when you create a contract, you have the ability to like upgrade it, or you have the ability to like do executive functions like freeze the whole contract and stuff like that. And that ability to do that's fine, but it kind of like it doesn't make a lot of sense to me why you would even bother like running this thing on a chain, like a public blockchain, and having all these kind of like open ways people can interact with it. And then at the end of the day, you can just freeze the whole thing anyway. Like that sounds to me more like just a website. Like if you have executive control over it anyway, why are you taking on all the costs that are associated with like crypto, like transaction fees and, mm-hmm. and waiting if your stuff doesn't get confirmed right away, and just kind of all the stuff that you have to accept to have this open network that anyone can interact with, but then you just kind of shut yourself down a little bit. And the interesting thing with Counterparty is, anyone could update Counterparty and add any kind of functions in it. You could put the golden key functions that are in Ethereum, but everyone has to agree to run that version, and no one's going to agree to run that version. But you could create your own kind of Counterparty fork that has all the things you want in it, even executive functions and stuff like that, and still run on top of Bitcoin. And then if you do have to make a change or whatever to it, you can it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to update the contract or anything. The cost is more social cost than getting people to run your version. So it has a lot of the ethos of Bitcoin in it, where it's you run a node, you validate everything yourself, rather than the kind of forced upon changes. If you own an asset that lives in an Ethereum contract, and that contract's upgradable, and they make an upgrade that you don't like, there's really not much you can do. You can't say, oh, I'm going to run the old version, because there is no old version. It's upgraded. So that's different too. But yeah, I think we live in our kind of little shells in crypto world. I'm into this one, you're into that one, when really the entire crypto world shell is pretty small in the grand scheme of things. So I think it makes a lot more sense to focus on making things that people that aren't into crypto can use. And that was kind of my focus with Freeport, and having it only use Bitcoin, and you can make assets, and it's pretty easy to just do and go through.
And fun. Is there gonna be any censorship on the assets? I put a few racy ones on there already.
So that was one of the reasons actually that I used Imgur as the image host.
Okay.
Because they have their own content policy, and if they don't like something, they're gonna take it down. So I just kind of, and if eventually that leads to them cutting off my API token.
Hopefully people don't put too much.
I just get a new one, I guess. But we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. That was one of the things with Rare Pepe, is that was that was so much work. Was we had the Rare Pepe
to prove them,
curate everything. Because
what were some weird ones people that didn't make the curation list?
I don't know. They were mostly low effort ones that didn't make it. It really wasn't. Most of them weren't oh, this is bad, we can't, because no one would send us. We had one or two that were yeah, we're not putting that up. But not really racist ones.
About child porn or stuff.
Just really you've seen Pepe's, there's all kinds of them. So there's some just really bad ones. But yeah, that's kind of my experiment. I'll let Imgur handle that. And content curation, and so and that's another thing I think is.
And so it's much faster too then, because even in the Bitcoin game, you have to submit it to the foundation. They have to look it over. It's I haven't actually submitted an asset. Now maybe I'll be able to. I've made a few assets, but I haven't submitted them. But this way it would be easier if Dan will let these assets come in too.
I don't know if he will. We'll see. Because they are different. The numeric ones are different. So. And I think it does make a lot of sense. So one of the things that you get with using a named asset like Rare Pepe's, where it's just a 12-character name, is any counterparty that wallet that's in existence you can use, and it's easy to use because you can see the names of your assets. The problem with a Freeport asset is it won't show up the way it shows up in Freeport in any other wallet, unless people adopt kind of my conventions that I used for aliasing, creating an alias for the asset, how I put the link to the image in the asset description and stuff like that. So that's definitely a big bonus with named assets. So I could see just for that reason alone, like a lot of the existing projects just sticking with named assets. But I really wanted to try to reach, like, show it to people that aren't really into the stuff already, and just like, hey, I want to make this cool like digital art, like rare digital art stuff. I want to like try
Can it work with GIFs?
What do you mean?
For the Freeport one, could people upload a GIF image?
Oh yeah, Imgur works with anything that works on Imgur. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, GIFs definitely work on there. Yeah, because I've made a few that are GIFs. So the other challenge that that you have with doing it the way that I'm doing it is somebody could literally create the same exact asset you created, and the only difference would be the asset ID, which is a long string of numbers. So I have thought about that, and kind of my solution for that is, if you create an asset, first of all, it's tied to your address. So if people know your address, then they'll know if it's the real one, right?
But even like the ones I created today, I stole them off other Telegram channels. Like I took the image, copied, saved it, and then uploaded it. And
that's kind of like, yeah. And I think you can do whatever you want. It's fine. That was kind of like one of the kind of things that I try to preach with crypto assets is like, it's the asset that you trade and like send around, and it's the whole like the legend behind the asset. So who created it, like when was it created, how many are there, how like what's the image, that's like a facet of it. But it's not, you're not just like creating the image that's like, it's not the image. It's not the image that you're buying. That's just what the asset that you made looks like at the time, because you could change the image. And that's one thing. I don't know if I'll build that into Freeport, but you could, if you change the asset description, you could change an image after the asset's issued.
Oh, okay.
So obviously that would be more difficult for somebody to do. They'd have to do it manually, unless I encouraged it by like building that function in to the application. But it is, that's another thing that people like with Imgur, like what if Imgur goes down? Like what'll happen to my asset? The image, the asset will be fine. It'll still exist as it always has. It'll be a broken link for people that go to the website until you change the image. So my thinking is eventually I'll build in like other options for image hosting. Like you could even use, like the big thing in Ethereum is to use IPFS, which is kind of like a torrent solution, which is fine. I think you could do that too.
What is IPFS? Like, what does that mean?
So you know what like torrents are, like BitTorrent?
Yeah, like it's like a not really.
So like the what BitTorrents are is or what a torrent is it's a little file that tells you the hash of, so kind of like a checksum, they call it an info hash in a torrent, that tells you kind of like the fingerprint of the image file. And then most torrent files also include like trackers, which is like a method for finding other people that have that image that you're looking for, or whatever the file is.
Is that what they use for like when like Napster, where they
exactly
use files?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So there's also in addition to using like a tracker, you can use a DHT, which is it's a distributed hash table. And basically what it does is it allows you to query a network without necessarily having you only really need to connect to like one or two people, and then you can connect kind of to everyone through that. So IPFS is just like a type of torrent, I guess is the easiest way to say it. So like after Napster, there was BitTorrent, you could download music. So IPFS is just you're downloading image files. It's a type of, but I don't think they use trackers, and they explicitly use DHTs. But at the end of the day, it's a kind of like heavy-handed solution to just hosting an image.
Okay.
In my opinion. So it is more censorship resistant to a degree, but if you have a real like bad image, nobody on the IPFS network is going to want to have it anyway. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of back at square one. And a lot of people that use IPFS in their projects for assets and stuff, they have to just run an IPFS node. And then they're just hosting the images through that, because that's the only way they can ensure that they're always available.
Okay.
They're hosting it themselves. That was where like Filecoin, and that was the big like ICO that IPFS did. And so the idea, I think, is eventually like you'll pay people. It's kind of like storage or mm-hmm. storage. And SIA. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of like blockchain projects that are supposed to be like decentralized storage.
I know. I was working with one that was doing medical images, and that was the idea, was that they were going to host all these, but it was way too expensive, really.
Yeah, and I think it really doesn't make a lot of sense for most things. Mm-hmm. For assets, as long as you're like not making really racy ones like the ones you're making, like if you're just like making like any other one, then you're not going to worry about Imgur taking your image down. It's, mm-hmm. It's not a thing that you really are going to care about. So that solution works. And one thing that I did do, and I think you'll notice it if you go into the manage assets, you'll see a thing that says like image anchor. Mm-hmm. So what that does is it writes that fingerprint, like what IPFS uses. They use the fingerprint kind of as a URL in addition to being like a fingerprint of the file itself. Whereas with Freeport, what I did was you have the ability to write the fingerprint so that the user or the asset holder or anyone that potentially wants to like buy it or look at it, they know the image they're looking at is the one that you created and you put on Imgur initially. So then if down the road you need to switch to another hosting solution, whether that's another Imgur type website, say 10 years from now Imgur is no more, but there's another like site that hosts images, then you would just change the image, which would have to be some sort of, you could do it manually by changing the asset description. But ideally it would be just another button you would push in Freeport, change image host, and then you upload the image again. And then basically what Freeport would then do is it would check to see if that image was had the same fingerprint as the initial image did if you created that anchor. Mm-hmm. And if it did, it would display it to users as, yes, the image you're looking at was the one that was initially created. Or no, it's different. So there's kind of a few kind of ways you could do it, and it's very basic now. What I did, it's just create your asset like through uploading your image, and I use in Freeport, it just uses Imgur's API, so you don't even really see Imgur at all. You're just uploading the image. It feels like you're just uploading the image to Freeport, and So in the future, what I could do is if I put a function in there to allow you to change the image, I could allow you to change the anchor potentially. But the nice thing is, because of the blockchain and all the history is all there, you could see what the previous anchors are. So there's kind of like there's different ways to do it. But the whole reason I created the anchor in the first place was so it kind of makes it even with something like an IPFS solution, because it has the fingerprint.
Mm-hmm.
So on that like technical level, they're essentially like equivalent, I'd say, as long as Imgur is around. So
Mm-hmm.
if Imgur leaves, then you would just have to host your image somewhere else. So, but I mean, maybe people aren't using IPFS in 10 years too. So
Yeah.
it's kind of just one of those things.
Now, is there anything you can do to integrate? Like I know with the DJ Pepe card, you have a link to SoundCloud and the music on the back. Is there something you could do with Freeport on that side too?
Yeah, and I want to do that eventually, like integrate like the bonus content type stuff that's in Rare Pepe Wallet and integrate that into Freeport too. So I want to at least pull all the functionality from Rare Pepe Wallet and put that in Freeport,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to other things too. But it's just finding the time to work on it.
Now, this might be too personal of a question, but like, do you get compensation for every time like a card is traded or anything like that? Or is it just strictly like a passion project for you?
Yeah, no, I don't get paid.
You should pay yourself something, Joe.
Yeah, no, it's like a hobby. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
That's the way to say it. So it's what I do in my spare time. It's fun. I build stuff that I like to use. So I've been having fun like creating stuff in Freeport and using it. So
me too today.
I'm glad that it was easy for you and you're able to use it. So that's good to hear. So hopefully more people start using it, see that it's easy. And
now what happened? So like what happened right before the Rare Pepe kind of mania or whatever it was, the excitement around it? Like what were the factors, do you think, that led that trading experience to be so popular?
I think just like timing wise, it was good. People were kind of like, it was the end of a long bear market. It was a fun new thing, kind of you could do in crypto. And so I think that had a lot to do with it. And then I tried to make the whole trade, like buying and selling experience in Rare Pepe Wallet, like as easy as possible. So I think I succeeded to a pretty good degree. I mean, I can see like a lot of the trades and stuff. I think we're going through Rare Pepe Wallet as opposed to going through like Counter Wallet or another interface. So I think that probably helped a lot, because it's a cool thing, because you create this thing, this Rare Pepe, and then you can sell it like immediately, like on the same platform. Like it's really easy, and then people can buy it pretty easily. And then now you have like some kind of currency, Pepe Cash or whatever it is. And you can now use that to buy other ones. So the whole like collecting and trading, and I know a lot of people, and that's what I did, because I didn't make a lot, but I made some Rare Pepes too. And I sold them so that I could buy more Pepes and collect more, and I think a lot of people did that too. So it was kind of like this whole like ecosystem where you had like, you were making it, but you also had like the people that were making them were buying them too. And it was like the whole like circular economy. I guess it was like a mini little economy going on in Rare Pepe world.
Jen says it was like the Beanie Babies.
Yeah, no, it really was. Yeah, I think it's the same. It's very similar type of thing. Like collectibles can get really hot, and a lot of people like want them, and it drives the price way up. But you'll still like, prices have gone down, like just like crypto prices have gone. That's another thing too. People, when they feel like they have more money, they spend more money. So, but I mean, Pepe's still have value. You can still, there's people selling them, still people buying them, still. So that's good to see too. And I'd like to see that kind of whole world expand to just like more people, because it is fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's difficult for, it's hard to get people that aren't really into crypto to kind of like buy into the fact that it's any different than like buying a digital card just on a website. Like, why is crypto different? Like, so that's one thing that's kind of interesting. Like Topps, which is a trading card company, they have a few different apps where you can like buy Topps trading cards in the apps, but it's not crypto anything. It's just people buying cards in a Topps app.
What, can you just screenshot it and have,
Well, no, I mean, you own it. That's the whole thing. Like a Rare Pep, like you have it.
Okay.
People collect them, like they collect any kind of cards, trading Rare Pepes, trading cards, anything like that. But it's not built on like this kind of like permissionless platform like cryptocurrency where anybody can just like create a wallet and interact with it. You have to go through their platform and use it. But I think a lot of people, if you're not into crypto, are okay with that. And they don't see a lot of difference between that, something like that, and then something like Rare Pepes. So that's, I think it's just time. I think it's just gonna take time for people to like start using Bitcoin, and like Cash App's good for that too. Like it's an app that its main purpose isn't to buy Bitcoin. Its main purpose is to like send money around, like a Venmo or something like that. And I think it even has like more users than Venmo. So it's a lot of people just have this app, and then, oh, by the way, like you can buy Bitcoin. Oh, what's Bitcoin? Like, let me check it out. I think it's just like you need more people to interact with it to really understand that, oh yeah, this is this like kind of like cool different thing. So I think we still have a ways to go with that. I think people are starting to like discover that it's different. Like digital scarcity is different than being like a user on a website and like owning a Topps trading card controlled on a Topps website. But it'll be interesting to see how it evolves from that.
What do you think? What do you think will happen with the Freeport app? Like, or what would be best case scenario, I guess, over the next 6 months?
I want people to use it because it's fun. Because then I can see like it's easier for me to find where like this doesn't work well or this does work well, and then I can kind of build it like iteratively. That's how Rare Pepe Wallet kind of happened. Like it was a group of people using it, and oh, hey, we want to do this and we want to do that. So it just kind of evolved. And that helped it to be more useful and functional to people. I'd like to see people just like use it, but like create their own kind of like Rare Pepes. Maybe they create like, because anybody can create anything. So it would be interesting just to see what people come up with. But just using it, I would say, would be if there's more people using it 6 months from now than today, then I've succeeded.
And so you can sell these on the DEX. Is there anywhere else like that you could sell them to each other? Like, is there a way that there could be an easier market or?
Yeah, I mean, you could sell them like on eBay, right? There's a whole like digital collectibles category.
I bought a Counterparty token on eBay from Truck.
Yeah. And did it work? Did you get your token?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's it's just getting people to like care, I guess. That it's that it is like a thing. Like you buy this collectible that's physical, you buy this collectible that's digital, like that's okay. And then just bringing in like the interesting thing with like crypto art and stuff, there's a lot of like artists that want to try to use it that maybe weren't necessarily into like cryptocurrency before. Because not a lot of people are just like into like money. And we're like, oh, there's this computer money. I'm like into that too. Like, I mean, everybody's like into money because they want money, right? But it's not like you don't really think too much about it.
Yeah. I was having lunch with some of my friends from school, and I hadn't seen them in a while. I was up in Jacksonville, and we started talking about it, and they know I'm into Bitcoin, but they don't know that much about it. And then I started talking about one of Tatiana's songs, and like it's the Bitcoin jingle. And one of the girls works for the FBI, another's a state prosecutor, and the other one works like for child services. Like she's an attorney, but her job is taking kids away from, they're all like government employees basically.
Yeah.
I was trying to explain to them like some of the differences of how the crypto people think, and they're like, wait a minute, like why are people like writing songs? Like no one writes songs about MasterCard or like the way they thought. They just think Bitcoin is just like a little payment thing, and it's like, no, there's a lot more to this. But
yeah, and I don't think there'd be so many people like into it as a hobby if it was just another like a MasterCard or something, or PayPal, like being really into PayPal, like something like that. Yeah, there is more to it, and I think you see it. Some people start to learn about it, and they get really into it, and then I think just the idea of like having crypto goods in addition to cryptocurrency is it gives people more of a reason to kind of look into it.
But price surges like what we had the other day helped too, because I got 3 different people email me, hey, is it time to buy? I was like, no, you might have missed it. I never know what to tell people. I say dollar cost average that's what I do. Like I just put a little bit every 2 weeks. But it seems like, when they hear of big swings, then that's when people get interested in it if they weren't already.
Yeah. Well, it's the same. Those are the same people that buy like Powerball tickets when it hits like $700 million, right? It's like, now's the time for me to buy a Powerball ticket so I win. But yeah, I think it would be interesting. I don't know if this is the start of like the next bull market, but I think it will come eventually, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the space of like collectible crypto assets when that happens. It'll be interesting.
Is there still like, I remember there were a lot of, or I heard anyway, there was a lot of Venezuela people and Japanese people using, or like they were issuing tokens quite a bit. Is that still going on a lot?
Yeah, I think a lot of people from Rare Pepe like moved over to like Bitcoins and
I don't see the I think it's mostly Americans in Bitcoins.
Is it?
At the moment, yeah. I could be wrong. A lot of people are under pseudonames in there, but
yeah. But you could also you could create them and not like be active in the chat too.
Yeah. There's one co-op that's from Japan, and I think Dan joined that co-op too, actually. But
yeah, no, I think in Japan they're a little further ahead in the kind of like just general acceptance of this kind of stuff. I think just like culturally they're like more okay with it.
They don't have the same hang up about the political correctness of the frog either.
Well, yeah, in that specific case, definitely. But yeah, I think anybody that was into Rare Pepes initially, I think they're moving into other areas of like crypto world, right? They're not leaving that. So I think it's just in order for this stuff to be like more like a day-to-day discussion, like, hey, did you buy that like rare whatever piece of art that some like artist, like, I mean, because it's a really like, it could be a cool thing, like just an artist like selling, like, here's this limited issue, like, cool thing that I made. There's 50 of them, and and then sell them just like for dollars, right? Like just sell them on eBay, like at an auction or something like that. I think that the wallets and the applications just have to get so good and so easy that it's not a hassle for people. They can figure it out, like day-to-day people, just normal people, non-crypto people.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
Freeport. Absolutely, anyone could use. Like,
yeah, it's more. It's like why would I want to? I guess that's the like hurdle they have to get.
Yeah.
To even use it, like why would I want to use it, kind of thing. But yeah, I hope that more people. I hope it does like succeed in getting some more people into like crypto goods, crypto art, like that kind of thing. Just like to accept the idea that like something like this is real and exists and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, are you going to the Rare AF event?
That's my plan right now.
Yeah.
It's my plan.
Are you speaking at it?
I don't know what's going on with it. I'm letting James, who's kind of setting everything up, do his thing. So whatever he says that'll be what we do. So.
Yeah. I wish I had been there last year. It sounds like it was quite the thing to experience.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. What was new? It was all new, like, because I think even in the last year, at least within the crypto space, everyone like knows what a like crypto collectible is. Anybody that's in the Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever like knows what they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be a lot different this year. Just because of that, unless the price pumps a ton in the next month or two, and then you get a bunch of people going that are like new to crypto in the last month, right?
Yeah.
And then everything's new again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe we just need another bull market to bring a bunch more people in.
New people.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what happened the last time. I mean, people that got into Bitcoin during the price like surge in 2017 and just never left when it went down.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe that's what you need to grow the idea, the meme of crypto. You just need bull runs to get more people interested. So
Mm-hmm. I got a message from Mike in Space last night. He's putting a video into it, but he won't be able to make it himself in New York. So I'm going to introduce this video for him. And I got to see a sneak peek of it. It's pretty funny.
Awesome. Yeah. He sent me some like stuff to hand out. So
yeah.
But I think he sent me stuff last year too to hand, like his business card or something to hand out to people. Like I went last January, so he's always. I
think he has a table there. Mm-hmm. And I saw like an interview came out with you today for Bitcoin Weird. And you said your favorite meme right now is the Yang Gang meme. What attracted you to that?
I just think it's funny. It's that I really like the vaporwave aesthetic, like the whole like using the pink hat and the like sunset stuff. Mm-hmm. And then like I just think it's really interesting, like politically how like it's so different now than even like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Like all the candidates are like, and I think Yang is like one of the most kind of out there, different ideas kind of guy. But it's so easy to like the meme of everybody gets $1,000 a month is just like to play off that with internet memes. It's like too easy. Like, so it's pretty good. I like the whole like Yang Gang meme and all the memes that have come out of that. They're great.
Yeah, me too. Every day. I used to look at the Doge edits the most, which I really like that. Are you in that channel in Telegram?
No.
Oh, they're really funny. Like they'll do whole skits of this cute little Doge, and like he's got a wife Karen that he sometimes beats, or he's got these 2 kids, and the kids like it's a real messed up family of Doges, but he loves Beat. Anyway, but the Yang Gang ones I think are even a little bit better lately, so it's fun.
Nice.
Yeah, but when at first I was just liked the memes, they took like the regular white hat off and put the pink hat on him, and then it was like off to the races. And then you know, a couple weeks later, I listened to him on Joe Rogan, and I actually like a lot of what he was saying. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. I wouldn't get the bag, even if he was elected as a green card holder. I wouldn't. I'm not even a green card holder yet, but once I get married, I will hopefully like get the green card. But even with a green card, you don't get to vote or get the $1,000.
You don't get the bag, huh?
No, no bag. But I think if he gets far enough that he's actually like someone that people can vote for, and there's a slight possibility that he could win, and if you only get your bag if you go vote, it could really encourage a lot more people to vote. And he was putting something out today saying 16, they should lower the voting age to 16. I was like, what are any 16-year-old going to vote for? Someone that can give them $1,000 a month? Like, it's a no-brainer.
Perfect.
Yeah, got my spending money and good to go.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think the world is like just like crazy place these days, and I think the internet has a lot to do with that. So I think, it's you like a candidate like him you could have never like dreamed of like 4 years ago, like because even like Bernie Sanders and like his democratic socialism and all that, like that's like wasn't as fringe of an idea as like just give everybody $1,000 a month and do a bunch of like a lot of his ideas are just like kind of like just very different. Like a lot of people like crazy, like they're kind of crazy. Like I don't even know what would happen if everyone got $1,000 a month. Like I could see like rents like just going up because like landlords are like, well shit, they got an extra $1,000 a month, I'm just going to charge them like $800 more a month in rent. Like a lot of
but none of that, everything takes a long time in the economy to like actually have an impact. So it'd probably take the whole 4 year, maybe two to 3 years before people, like you can't raise the rent while your tenants are in there. I think it's like it's difficult. So you'd have to wait till that tenant leaves and then hike it up for the next tenant, or you can raise it once a year, but you can't go up more than a certain percentage. Maybe it's different in each state too, but
I'm sure it is. Yeah, but I'm just like, just in general stuff like
cars, everything like, everything they know they can charge a little more, but there's still the competitive nature of,
people won't know too, like how much is like, you got to have the companies that are going to like just take that chance and charge it. I don't know.
I want to see it.
I'm okay with it happening, and we'll just see what happens. Like,
I think it'll be good for Bitcoin. Now, I know some people had come in that, I forget which chat it was, I think it was Magical Thinking, was saying that it would be terrible. It will cause hyperinflation, and that will be terrible for Bitcoin. But in my head, I thought the more the dollar would like become less, like the more I guess it would be inflation with the extra 1,000 a month, the dollar you have less buying power, and Bitcoin has, it should go up in buying power as it gets more scarce. So you would think that would be a positive for Bitcoin, but I don't know what the hyperinflation is, just like when you can't, like you really can't buy stuff like the bread, the cost of bread goes from like $2 to $10 in a very short time or something.
It's like when everyone gets their paychecks, they run to the store to quick buy stuff before the prices go up, or before their paycheck's worthless kind of thing.
But if that was happening, wouldn't you just turn your paycheck into Bitcoin? But I guess you would need the stores to accept Bitcoin for you to be able to then, and the bread is still going to go up. So
it's not always that easy. Like, it might not be that easy, and maybe maybe the payroll and banks, like you can't just buy Bitcoin. I don't know. It would be, I think a lot of people have their predictions like this would happen if I don't know. I have no idea. I have enough knowledge in a lot of the stuff to understand people's viewpoints, like why they would think stuff's going to happen. But we've seen like crazier things, like just the idea that like with where the interest rates and stuff are now, like you would think that would have caused like crazy inflation.
And the fact that they could just print all that money for the QE, 1, 2, 3, and 4, why wouldn't just printing some more money to pay the $1,000 if you print less for the, if you're not doing a QE program, how would that change things too much?
Well, I think the idea of like UBI is paid through a VAT tax, so it's not just creating more dollars to buy it. It's more just it's a tax. There's a tax that like basically a consumption tax, and then that money then is used. Those tax dollars are then used to give everyone $1,000 a month, kind of thing.
But there'd still be more money in the hands of the general public, right? Because it would be no different. They have the 1,000 or the banks got the QE money, but it's still more money coming out. And I think that's what people are saying. You have to restrict the supply of money to keep it steady. But for the last decade, we haven't been restricting it either way. So I don't, I might be way off. I'm not an economist. But I don't think it would be that different having the $1,000 going in versus having the QEs going in. Maybe I should probably shut up because I'm probably wrong on that. But to me, it seems like we've been in this weird economic zone with free flowing money and the low interest rates for so long, and it hasn't caused it to implode yet. I don't know what this negative yield curve that just happened, what that's going to do. That happened in 2006, so it took 2 years before it really caught up to everything. But I think the negative yield curve makes it so that like a
recession predictor.
Yeah, it's a huge recession predictor, but it also makes it tight on the banks. So it's not costing them money, but they're not making anything on the overnight, with all the money they've got lent out. It's bad for them in that respect.
Yeah, well, that's just, low interest rates in general. They're not making as much money on loans and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all a crazy experiment. That's just in general. I think a lot of the policies and kind of programs that we have in place now, everyone can kind of see they're not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
So at least somebody like Yang comes in and just says, we'll just try something completely different, right? I think you need to try something like that rather than just keep putting along and
mm-hmm.
Just waiting for these things to fail, because eventually they will, Social Security and Medicare and stuff like that, and just putting patches on stuff. But yeah, I think it's interesting that I think just things have sped up so quickly because free flowing information, that ideas evolve much quicker. So I think that's why you see candidate like him, where you would never have expected them a couple years ago. It's just and I think we'll probably see candidates even more that have crazy ideas, and just it'll be interesting. I think the 2020 election in the US is going to be a very interesting one.
I'm so glad to be here for it. So many years I would watch the U.S. elections from Canada and feel kind of it's such a big deal, it's but you're just watching from the sidelines. But yeah. What about the robots stuff? Do you think he's right in some of his predictions of I've seen a few charts that show a huge decline in certain jobs that it will all be replaced with by robots. And then in his podcast with Joe Rogan, he really went into the stats of how hard it is to retrain people who, have maybe been a truck driver or in the service industry for most of their life. They're not, that learn to code thing. They're not going to go learn to code and spend the last 5 years before retirement, in some specialized job. So if their jobs are taken over by robots, there's, I wonder what will happen to them.
Yeah, no, I think I think that would probably be the thing that I would be most just concerned about in general, the future of just in the future in general is employment, and how because you look at college and the way college works, and that's like completely unsustainable, and it's like makes no sense. What's happened is like in the company where I work, to be like an admin, so basically like doing like administrative functions, you need to have a college degree. But that just makes no sense. Like if they were to hire you new, but then a lot of the people like retiring that are older, they don't have college degrees because got in that job when you didn't need one. But it's like now you're asking people to get in debt, like to have the same job. It makes no sense at all. It's become the new like high school diploma is a college degree. So that whole like thinking is just like, that's completely unsustainable. And then add like automation and robots and stuff for the like lower skilled stuff. I think it's like it'll be interesting to see. I think a lot of the new, like the jobs you see now are still like it's interesting to some degree because like at least where I live, you drive around, like every lower paying job, like to work, if you're going to work at like a Home Depot or you're going to work at like a Dunkin' Donuts or something, all those places have like help wanted signs up. Like I think they can't get people in. So that's kind of like a weird thing. It's like people don't want to make just that little bit of money, I guess. Or they can't keep people or I don't know. Or it's just not you can't like have a family and make minimum wage or so I think it's more when automation replaces like higher paying jobs, that's
well, the truck driver job is a high paying. Well, I don't know.
So I think I think if McDonald's has like burger flipping robots or whatever, that's probably not as big of a deal as like other big like truck drivers or something like that being automated out. And then now it's basically just you've lost a career path for someone that maybe doesn't have a huge skill set. And I think that's like getting smaller, like those kind of careers are getting harder to come by. And then you need to have more specialized skills, and then you need to go to school for that. So you need to pay money and all that. So it's like, I think it's like the way we've set up society, or the way society is now, is just like how things have evolved, but it's not the most like efficient way or the most that brings the most happiness kind of way, like the most utilitarian way, or like, so I don't know if giving everyone $1,000 a month is the solution to that. It probably isn't. It's not the solution. It's probably,
well, if everything stayed the same with how much things cost, so you just got an extra $1,000 a month, it could add some happiness, because you can go, people that were working minimum wage jobs, they probably aren't able to enjoy an expensive steak or something like that on a regular basis. So they'd have money to hire a babysitter and go out and have a date night or something like that more so. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be.
I hope it does. I just want to watch and see how it all plays out. But I guess that's. Well, I guess I'll probably see you in New York. That'll be exciting. But anything else going on that you want to talk about before we close up?
No, I think everyone should just check out Freeport. It's just freeport.io, and that'll bring you to where you can download the extension, and you have to use Chrome, and you have to be on a computer. You can't do it like mobile. So it is like harder to use than like Rare Pepe Wallet, where you just need a browser and you can use it from any device. But yeah, check it out. I think it's fun. It's fun to just like, you can make your own Rare Pepes basically.
And
You don't,
if anyone,
you don't need to ask the scientists to certify them.
yeah, if anyone wants to comment like on the video or whatever with their address, I'll send them some of my ones I made today. If they want.
Your very offensive ones that you made.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Joe.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.